And her dad was the principal at high school and one of the principals. And her mother took my place when I went in the service in the post office. And there was never anything serious, but she had graduated and I went to her graduation, her prom thing. But her parents had me over for dinner one night. And we were sitting there enjoying the meal. And you know how bad my hands got frozen? The nerves in them, they would twitch. And I was eating with a fork, and all of a sudden the fork flew out on the floor. Oh, mercy. You'd think you was watching a comedy. But I think they knew. But she went to college and things went another way. And then I met
What family was that?
her last name was Wilson.
Wilson.
It was a different, had some other Wilsons that were teachers, but he was in the administration. She had one sister, but we went to the same church and got to know each other. But she was probably about 2 years younger. And, but I rode with them down to her to check out entering college in Tucson. She did. And it just went away. Yeah. And maybe they thought I'd never make enough money. But I got paid handsomely with my position at the post office. Mm-hmm. Most of the time I made more than the postmaster because I had years in. Yeah. But I never made postmaster because I had a different politics. And I wouldn't well, that's another story. And
well, let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
I want to ask you a couple questions related to when you were over there, you know, serving in France and in that area. You talked about how you captured that one single German soldier, and then there were others. Did you? Mm-hmm. Were you ever with in your unit that you were with? Did you ever capture any other soldiers?
No, that was my last day.
Your last day.
After the other times, see, things were looking up for us then, except there was still fierce fighting. And there might have been a few Germans that saw their opportunity to get out of it. They weren't treated like the ones at Malbany. We were, it was hounded into us over and over, do not shoot your prisoners. When they're interrogated, the stuff they can get out of them and match it up with somebody else, the war would have been over a year earlier. But there are guys, and I don't fault them too much. When they, day after day, see their buddies killed or see others killed right before them, my frame of mind hadn't changed. I still had a compassion when these guys come up and they was going through their pockets, getting their razors and all of them. I had pity for them. But I liked the guy that didn't shoot me. You know, the other guys came out because I yelled, but this, we could each got startled. I didn't, you know, I can still see him. If I'd have shot him, I'd have saw him what had happened. It didn't have to, I don't have to go through that. But shooting a machine gun, you don't know what you hit. But it, you do what you have to do, and I would have done what I had to do and felt clean about it. But I'll tell you one story I saw in a war documentary. It had to do with airplanes. The B-17 was going down, and the German plane was coming around for a final kill. He saw the tail gunner there. Instead of hitting his trigger, he just pulled off. And sometime at the end of the war, this guy was still alive. He was able to go through records and found this pilot. And they were bawling like little babies. I would too. I'm almost now. I would too if that guy was here.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It would just been something we'd had in common. Because I had no animosity against the Germans except it would have built. It would have built day in and day out, you know, seeing guys. And I think the guys come across North Africa and up Italy. Well, I don't know if there would have been guys that would have lasted that long. See, I just lasted here about 6 weeks or so. And that's a long time when you got shells going by. And you know, when they checked me out at Fort Sam Houston, I was supposed to have 2 pair of shoes. All I had was one. They docked me $5 and something for that pair of shoes I didn't have. Did you know one bullet whizzing by you is worth more than that? My kids say they're going to make a stink about it after I die. But if it's still a record, isn't that a shame? I had no shoes at all when I got to San Antonio. They issued me a pair of low quarters, but you're supposed to have 2 pair. $5 and something.
What do you remember? And this, you know, you can just think about maybe certain people that stand out in your mind, but what do you remember about some of the men that you served with?
Well, you know, the most of them I was with most of the time was in California. There was different ones, but there was never that closeness. There was one guy that walked behind me when we was walking in column of 2s. Half the time he was walking on my heels. But what do? He wobbled. But overseas, you're thrown in with the replacements. You didn't go in the early days where they go in as a group. If we'd have took all those guys from California together and kept them together, it would have been a different ballgame. But there was guys almost 40 and guys my age. They were drafting them up pretty old because they was at the bottom of the rung, and I was just 18. And it was all new to me, being away from home, but you adapt. But I remember a few guys, but they would know, none of them that would say would come over and help take your pack off or do this. You did it for yourself.
So when you were part of the 4th Armored Division, then you were serving as replacement, basically?
Yeah,
in that,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how
during that time?
the guys, they're just like the day when I left, 8 or 10, and that's just in my squad. Others would kill. And it's going on like that over and over as replacements come in. If they're fortunate, I guess they get to stay. But I don't know if I'd want to change anything or not now.
Yeah.
But I'm out of it. But if I'd have lost 2 feet, I'd have had a different. But they were the 2. I don't remember which ones. The big toe and the one to it looked just like a couple of overcooked prunes. I mean, I was just see the fact that had to be taken off, but they came back, and I was thankful for that.
Yeah.
And
So what do you think what would be your strongest memory from your experience during the war?
well, there was one time. Well, no, I was just going to be facetious. Going through getting your shots. Those guys like to josh you. You go in the dispensary. There's 2 guys giving shots. The one guy gets a shot over here on this side. The other guy gets a shot on the other side. And they say, okay, break it off, make 2 lines. I'm glad it wasn't me. But some of those guys got the same shot twice. Then Then after they threw tear gas in on us, that wasn't fun. But they marched us back to the base, and it was just about an hour after dinner. And we didn't give us time to clean up, marched us on over to the barracks. We were sitting there eating. All those fumes came alive. You're sitting there eating that good food and bawling again like a little baby. It's all in your clothes. But I remembered that when I was laying in the foxhole.
Yeah.
My eyes smarting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience that tear gas again while you were
No.
actually out on the front?
Well, we went, no gas. They knew better than to use it. But you know the best smelling gas is phosgene. If you ever go by an alfalfa field after someone mows it at the right time, oh, it smells good. Phosgene smells almost exactly like that. And if you don't get something or a mask on, you'll drown in your own vomit. And they'd give us 2 or 3 different gases. We'd go through the gas chamber. I'd have to say Turner 0363. That's my name with the last 4 numbers of my serial number before they let me out. That would have been a bad time to have forgotten my serial number.
Yeah.
But then you got an experience of it. There's a little bit of mustard gas, tear gas, phosgene, and something else. But no, I think they were ready. Everybody was ready. But they knew if they used it, the other side would use it. And the same way, they shouldn't have shot those guys at Malbany. We shouldn't have deals going on that, what do you call it, like Bush set up, doing the prisoners.
Where they would keep the prisoner of war.
Yeah, not to, the word I can't, it's left me. But we're not to do things to them, to make them. And we wouldn't have done that. We had a camaraderie or anything. It was a law. You couldn't do it. But it told us the reason why. The war would be a lot shorter. And they could know how to interrogate and what. I feel like some were shot that knew about the buildup in the Battle of the Bulge. If they could have got that out of them, it would have never happened. Well, that's
your.
If there's any redeeming qualities of all of this, that's it. And my being embarrassed when my fork went out on the floor. No, they treat me and my family treat me like something special, and I know I am in a way. But I want to make sure, I was there just long enough to appreciate the guys that had been there day in and day out. If you don't get killed or wounded, that's all you have to look forward to. And I'm thankful. And 2 or 3 times in training and down in the hospital on the streets of San Antonio, I could have been killed, and I wasn't. And I caught that helicopter ride down from Payson, got a quadruple. I'm still here. They said, when we give a guy a ride down, he's usually out. But I looked at the scenery.
So you were in Payson when you had a heart attack? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I was out having my wife shake. She liked to use the clothesline. I'd be shaking it. Oh, I'd get the pain. I said, I'm going to the doctor. I went down. He said, no, send him straight to the hospital. If he needs help, we'll get him there. So I drove to the hospital. But they checked me in, got the helicopter ready. Next thing I know, I was at Good Samaritan. Next thing I know, it's 3 days later.
Wow.
I wasn't out. I guess I was out halfway, but I did a quadruple bypass. Oh, that scar now, it reminds me of it.
Oh
I touch it, I go through the wall.
How are we doing on our tape?
2 minutes.
2 minutes, goodness, you want me to sing a song?
Okay.